Welcome to Ready Lesson number 5 for 7th grade, Citing Evidence to Support Inferences. Remember that an inference is an informed or educated guess that you can make about the text. Think about what you can do when you need to figure out something in the text that the author does not state directly. You would use text clues and consider what you already know from your life experiences. You can use your own experiences to help you understand what you read. For example, if you are reading about a situation with children, you might use your own knowledge about a younger sibling to help you understand the feelings expressed in the text. You will also need to know what evidence is. Text evidence are facts, examples, and other information from the text. Making inferences and citing evidence to support those inferences will help you better understand fictional text. So let's look at the worksheet. It says, have you ever looked at something that interested you, such as a hot air balloon or a telescope, and tried to figure out how it works? An analysis is an examination of how the different parts of something work together. When you read a story, you analyze how its parts, its characters, setting, and events work together to create meaning. Some story details are explicit or clearly stated. Jessie was excited about going to the museum is an example of an explicit detail. You know that Jessie is excited and why. But story information can also be less direct. You might have to make an inference or an educated guess based on details in the story and your own knowledge to figure out what's going on. Let's look at the text in the box. It says, after his dad had gone upstairs, Pete clenched his fist and stomped out of the room to go get a bucket and fill it with soapy water. His dad had just told him they were having company that evening and that Pete had to help out by doing some extra chores. Pete had finished all of his homework in study hall that day and had planned on spending the afternoon reading his new comic book, not mopping floors and dusting shelves. Using details from the text and your own knowledge, fill in the blanks in the chart below. So let's first look at what we need to fill in. We need to fill in evidence and background knowledge in order to create an inference. So the evidence that they've given us is that Pete clenched his fist and. So let's go back up to the text to see what he did. So up here it says that he clenched his fist and he stomped out of the room. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that text and I'm going to type it in by evidence. So he stomped out of the room. Let me change this to a brighter color so you can see it easier. Let's look at some other textual evidence. So it also says that Pete had planned on spending the afternoon, and up here it says that he had planned on spending the afternoon reading his new comic book. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put here, reading his new comic book. And it says not, and over here it says not mopping floors and dusting shelves. So not mopping floors and dusting shelves. Now that we have the evidence filled in, we can go ahead and we can fill in our background knowledge. It says when people clench their fists and stomp out of a room, these are signs that I know that these are signs that they probably feel angry. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my chart. Now I need to pair up the evidence that we found and my background knowledge in order to create an inference. So here I can create an inference that Pete is most likely angry about having to do extra chores. When you analyze a story to make an inference, pay close attention to details of the text. Read closely to find evidence that you can cite or give as proof. that the inference is reasonable. By making and supporting inferences, you'll be like an engineer looking at a machine you've never seen before, piecing together clues to figure out how it works. Let's move on to part 2. It says, read this part of the short story about 2 criminals who kidnap a child to hold him for ransom. So let's look at this short story from The Ransom of Red Chief by O. Henry. We selected for our victim the only child of a prominent citizen named Ebenezer Dorset. The kid was a boy of 10, with bas-relief freckles and hair the color of the cover of the magazine you buy at the newsstand when you want to catch a train. Bill and me figured that Ebenezer would melt down for a ransom of $2,000 to a cent. But wait till I tell you. The kid was in the street, throwing rocks at a kitten on the opposite fence. "Hey, little boy," says Bill, "would you like to have a bag of candy and a nice ride?" The boy catches Bill neatly in the eye with a piece of brick. "That will cost the old man an extra $500, said Bill, climbing over the wheel. That boy put up a fight like a welterweight cinnamon bear, but at last we got him down in the bottom of the buggy and drove away. We took him up to the cave and I hitched the horse at the cedar brake. After dark I drove the buggy to the little village, 3 miles away, where we had hired it, and walked back to the mountain." It says, explore how to answer this prompt. Use details from the passage to predict whether Sam and Bill's plot will succeed. A prediction is a type of inference. It is a reasonable guess that you need to support with evidence. So let's go up here first and let's look at the text one more time. Now, it's too early to be certain whether Sam and Bill's plot will succeed, but I can make a prediction about their chances. Remember, a prediction is a type of educated guess. In other words, a prediction is based on both my prior knowledge and specific evidence. This means that a prediction is a type of inference, and just like an inference, I need evidence to support a prediction. Now, in the second paragraph, I read that the boy is throwing rocks at a kitten on the opposite fence. And in the fourth paragraph, I read that the boy catches Bill neatly in the eye with a piece of brick. This is evidence that meshes well with background knowledge that I have, that people who throw rocks at cats and other people are mean and can be hard to deal with. So let's go ahead and let's look back down at our chart. So the evidence that we have is, but wait till I tell you. The kid was in the street, like we said, throwing rocks at a kitten on the opposite side of the fence. So throwing rocks at a kitten on the opposite fence. And the boy catches Bill neatly in the eye with a piece of brick. Now, I compare this up with my background knowledge, like I said, that people who throw rocks at cats and other people are probably mean, and this suggests that the boy is going to be very difficult to deal with. And so, therefore, I can make an inference. Based off of this knowledge and evidence from the text, I can make a prediction about whether Sam and Bill's plot will succeed. And in this case, I feel that their plot will actually fail, because the boy might be a little too difficult to deal with. So I'm going to put that here. It will fail because the boy will be too hard to deal with. Okay, for the rest of the lesson, go ahead and click on the part 2 so that you can continue on with part 3 and part 4 of lesson 5.